Will be digitally recorded. Thank you. Close enough. Call the meeting to order of the Topsham Select Board, April 2nd, 2026, from the Donald A. Russell Meeting Room. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Eddie, you call the roll, please.
I would be happy to do that. Roland Tufts.
Here.
Ann Callahan.
Present.
Ryan Holmes.
Here.
David Kinney.
I am here.
Mike Labby.
I'm here.
Okay, all present, and the town manager is also at the head table.
Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Up next, town manager's report.
Good evening. In response to some public comment that was received by Maine DOT regarding the Route 196 bypass widening, they've done some additional acoustical review of the proposed widening. They've altered their proposed plan to add some trees as sound buffers. They're taking public comment on the revised plan through April 17th. A link to the public notice can be found on the town's website under the public notice section. Congratulations to Rusty Cloutier, who will retire from our Public Works Department on April 9th. Rusty worked many long snowstorms for the town and took great pride in trying to make Topsham roads the clearest around. If it was Christmas time, I'd say this to music, but we're looking for 2 police officers, 2 public works truck driver laborers, 1 firefighter advanced EMT, and 1 parks and rec technician. So if you're interested in coming to work with a happy team of people, come apply to the town of Topsham. That's it.
Can't beat that plug. Thanks very much.
The last plug I did, we got new history committee members, so you never know.
Keep talking. All right. Boards, committee reports and updates. We have none. Public comment. Anyone online have any comment tonight?
She hasn't raised her hand, but I believe she is interested in making a comment.
Can you just?
I can just allow her to talk and ask.
Is that Laura?
Laura, if you want to have public comment tonight, you have the floor.
So I'm not prepared tonight. I think
Okay,
I will do it on the 16th.
okay.
Thank you for considering me.
Thank you for attending the meeting.
Okay.
Thank you. Other correspondence, anything for anyone? Nothing. All right, just the agenda, we have one, it's dealing with the warrant article for, the Topsham Malt Impact Fee.
To expend some of the Topsham thermal impact fee.
And that'll be item 2641. Moving up to the consent calendar, looking for a motion to approve the minutes of the regular select board meeting held on March 19th, 2026.
You weren't voting that one, but yes, we'll go move that.
Okay,
I just had one comment. I had actually talked with the manager about just that there are some things missing, just for anybody listening, but they are available. And I don't know if you want to speak to that, just because there was some things in the minutes, just because it was so long that weren't there. And it's just where they can find it if they want it.
Right, that night we asked, we discussed as a group whether we wanted Patty to try to do verbatim, and we decided it was a long meeting, a lot to say, so it'd be better to refer people to the video. So she's tried to capture the name and the essence of each person's comment.
Just wanted that clear, if anybody was wondering.
all right, so we have a motion, second, all in favor? Abstentions? Okay, motion carries.
Everyone else.
Sorry, I gotta move this thing up, that's why. It's this room, my voice goes hoarse the minute I step in here, so I blame it on Mark. Thanks for letting me know,
Is
though.
that better? I'll do that. We up to the
I have my hearing aids in.
I have mine in too, and it doesn't. I still can't hear myself.
Closer. There we go.
Yeah, all right, let's see how that goes. All right, next item up, public hearing, none tonight, unfinished business, none, old business, none, on to new business. 2633, consideration of any appropriate action on accepting donation of time and effort from the American Legion Post 202 and their Boy Scout troop to construct softball dugouts at the Riverside softball field.
Isn't that music to your ears? They're volunteering and they're doing it for us. The girls softball program has long been waiting for dugouts. I know that I brought it to the finance committee and to you folks a couple of times. But the commander of the American Legion, who happens to be in Virginia tonight, so that's why I'm appearing before you, willfully donated his time and his project for this year. And you have seen Jim here before for lots of other projects. But he is happy to put a crew together, provide us with the necessary insurance, disclaimers and such, and build us 2 matching dugouts to the other 4 that we have.
Are the building supplies coming out of budget?
Building supplies would be, we're working on some things being donated,
Okay,
and the remainder would come out of our capital and recreation improvements line, what we have left in there, but there's nothing. We think it should be less than about $4,000.
okay. Thank you.
Any questions?
There's enough funds in there now to cover all that out of this year's
I
budget.
believe there is this year. We won't need anything additional. That's what we have left over from bleachers and a few other projects, so.
We're happy stepping up and doing this.
That's
A very nice project for Boy Scouts.
It is. And he's gonna match our dugouts, not the dugout they have on their field, so it'll look set.
great. Your motion?
Sure. I'd like to make a motion to accept the donation of time and effort from the American Legion Post 202 and their Boy Scout troop to construct softball dugouts at the Riverside softball field.
Second,
All right, by Ann, seconded by Brian. All in favor?
I should add that the Public Works Department has also verified with us that they'll be happy to help if there's any need on other.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's great, thank you. All right, item 2634, consideration of any appropriate action on endorsement of the Bridge Advisory Committee name for the new bridge.
So you may remember at the last meeting that you authorized the history committee to release the letter that they wanted to do to suggest that the bridge have this name. And then you asked me to inquire from Brunswick what they were gonna be doing regarding the name. Followed up with the town manager, and they're gonna be taking up this name, not looking for additional suggestions, just the recommended name, at their Monday night town council meeting. So tonight we bring it before you, so you can decide if you would like to endorse the name, and Nancy Randolph's here to address you.
We're going to be other people, right?
Lucky you.
Nancy Randolph, 13 Williams Drive. I was on the design advisory committee, but as you know, we're not supposed to be doing anything anymore. Supposed to be done. But, so we had heard rumors that they'd already named it, but of course that was just MDOT conveniently calling it the Frank Jacob Bridge rather than using some, generic name for the bridge. So when we found that out, the history committee had the design advisory committee and said, they sent out emails saying, oh, we need to do this. And I don't know how many of you know. Oh, forget his name. That's embarrassing. Anyway, there's a member of the committee who's a Topsham resident he's a great historian. And he was the one who suggested Chef's Falls Bridge. And he did the history that, that was the Chef's Falls. So the best part about that name is it doesn't give any live person any, standing or complaint. Because this is what it was when the tribes gathered to fish. And so that's why I'm standing here and saying, please just send this on to the legislature and ask them to, our representatives and our senators, ask them to get the legislature to name this bridge the Chef's Falls Bridge. And I think that all I can say. And then if they have some questions, I can answer, but
We got a good letter talking about the history with all the background, so we have that information already. Thank you.
Any questions? A motion?
Sure. I'd like to make a motion to support the Design Advisory Committee to suggest to the legislature to name the bridge the Pachevska Falls Bridge.
Motion, have a second? Second. Been seconded, all in favor? Thank you.
and have the town motion in the letter or an email.
Will do.
Will do.
Thank you.
See what an influence that was? That's why you were such an influence.
All right. Item 2635, consideration of any appropriate action to authorize the treasurer to convey the real property, excuse me, located at 6 Main Street to Susan O. Farnsworth and Lisa A. Slumke, provided the sum of $12,488.53 is paid by April 6th of this year.
This is a tax acquired property we got about a month ago. These are the former owners of the property. And it's in accordance with our tax acquired property policy, in that they have offered all the back due taxes, interest, fees we had to pay for certified mail, etc. And I actually have a cashier's check for this amount sitting in the safe. So should you choose to accept it tonight, it is ready to be paid.
Any questions? Okay, take a motion.
I make a motion to authorize the treasurer to convey the real property located at 6 Main Street to Susan O. Farnsworth and Lisa A. Zlomke, provided that the sum of $12,488.53 is paid by April 6th.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Thank you. All right, 2636, consideration of any appropriate action on direction with the committee reappointment procedure.
We have had, I think, a good year as far as attendance and following the policy that you set last year. We've been meeting with new committee members as they join the committees. We also offered to meet with any existing committees to exchange the policy or explain the policy. Most took us up on it, but even ones that didn't take us up on it, they had the written copy. So we're coming up on the time when we have basically make sure people have followed the attendance part, which they have. And in the past, at least since I've been here, if Rose reaches out around this time of year to find out who's interested in continuing on a committee, and we've just put their name as part of a big list of incumbents for you folks to reappoint. And often I think that was probably because there were committees that's all that no one else wanted to be on. Rose tells me that years back, we used to publish that there were potential openings on committees. And then if you got more applicants, you might decide to do interviews rather than just automatically reappointing the incumbent. If you wanted to follow that procedure, we could put an ad in the Topsham Crier or part of our ad, and basically let people know we have potential openings on whatever committees have terms expiring. This would only apply to standing committees because ad hoc ones, they're basically there for the length of the purpose. They don't expire before that. So I'm looking for instruction as to whether you want us to place an ad, solicit applications so that you can interview if more than one person wants to be in a slot, or you want us to just do what we've been doing in the past, just ask the incumbents if they want to continue and then only advertise openings if we have an incumbent that doesn't.
Would this be treated like at the end of the year when there's a select board member that has to go back in November for vote? Even if they're applying again, there's still an opening, right? We advertise it as an opening. And this would be treated very similarly. So anybody that has a term expiring, that would be how many openings there are in this Topsham Crier ad.
If you wish.
I think it's a good idea. And then the other thing is, I'm not sure it's a good idea to just go ahead and reappoint someone just because their term expired without talking at least to the chair and finding out if this person is an asset to the committee or, and so I wouldn't want to just blanket say if there's no opposition, if no one else wants that position, that we just go ahead and reappoint. I would like to know that there's some kind of process that says this person is an asset to the team. And maybe the chair didn't want to say anything, but they don't really want him on the team. You know, we really need to do more research rather than just say, okay, your term's up, no one else wants it, you can have it. I think we, maybe just a quick question or a quick phone call or an email or, you know. What are your thoughts? I mean, that's just my thought.
I like the advertising the position. You've really been there for 6, 10 years or whatever it is.
Oh, no, I think we should do that, yeah.
I mean, that should be advertised, yes. And I'll tell you, I was on the finance committee
Mhm.
before I get this board. And when it came to reappointment, I had said, no, I want to continue, and I was continuing.
Mhm.
It was the other way, that for those that like to continue, if somebody else wanted to come in, there'd be two of us. And then they got coming for interview with us, time that I wanted to. So I would like that, you know, I think it'd be a great community.
I just wanted to be clear that I do support that. I think every term ending should be posted in the crier. I think that was my point. My point was that if no one applied for it, then there's still something else we might need to do. I don't know if I was clear.
Nobody applied the candidate they wanted to get it in, so.
But what if they're not effective?
I also would add that we potentially have members that have been on a board for a long time and stay on the board because nobody else fills it. This might be a good opportunity for other people to reach out, because on the other side of the stick, maybe there just was never an opening. So this could be something that could be beneficial to advertise, because at the end of the day, we can choose if we want to add somebody in or not to a committee or board, and that's still part of this policy afterwards. Anyway, we're not quite at the year, but it's been a good year for public participation on committees. We've seen a lot of interviews. We've placed a lot of people on committees. I think that's important to note. So
Good.
as much as we can ride this tide, we should promote as much public participation as we can.
So I support the part that says let's advertise a position that's coming, the term is ending. I don't support the automatically roll them over, so I don't know how you guys wanna, how you feel about that.
Mixed feelings about. The question a couple of different ways, it wrestle with.
I mean, do we assume since they didn't contact us that they're not interested?
If Rose reaches out and they don't return her core, because she reaches out multiple times.
Okay.
If they don't return, then we assume they're not interested, right?
Okay.
Okay. I think it sounds fair.
But if they are interested, we would still potentially interview for that spot. If they express a desire to stay.
Well, except that this paperwork said that if there's no one else that wants the position, that we wouldn't have to interview. That's what we have to decide tonight, right?
I think maybe,
Yeah,
select board member Kenny's making a different point, maybe.
Okay.
yeah, I'm just wondering if. As it compares to the select, whether these are elected positions versus appointed positions, and do we have to, if a member of that a committee gets to the end of their term, can we just renew? Or do we have to go out, or is it just something? You know,
It's completely up to the discretion of this board.
right,
You don't have to entertain other candidates. You don't have to automatically appoint incumbents. Only thing maybe I might caution you is if you wanted to interview every incumbent in every position, whether or not there's someone else that wants it. It could be a considerable amount of time in June. You might need some special nights just because there's a lot of people that would have to be interviewed.
I see what Dave's saying, where he's coming from. At the end of the day, we can interview somebody, or we can interview the standing person and the new person at the same time. So it's kind of like a coaching position at the high school. That's a stipend for a year, right? At the end of the year, you don't have to really necessarily let anybody go. You just have to open the position back up. And if you want it, you can interview. We'll take the best interview.
well, and that's my question, do we have to open it up, or do we not? The elephant in the room here is that we're in sensitive times with some terms that are coming up. And we've got a lot on the table here, and to be shifting gears in the middle of this. I'm concerned about that.
Well, it's not shifting gears.
Well, I mean, new board potentially, replacing.
Yeah, the hard part is
A lot
we
of
enacted this policy last year, and we're coming up on the year of enacting a policy. At the same time, the same thing what you're talking about is going on. So it is understandable to think that. I would never I can't deny that. I think that's an inappropriate thing to make, a statement to make.
Do you have a number of how many positions are gonna open up soon?
I think planning board has 3 terms up this year. Finance committee probably has 2 that are up this year. Could be 3, but it's usually about a third. They're 3-year terms, so it's about a third of each committee. Committees like pedestrian wouldn't apply to, energy committee wouldn't apply to, because those are ad hoc committees. So all totaled, probably 10 to 15 positions. Some of them, I don't think you're, like the zoning board of appeals or the assessing board of appeals, we're lucky to get an incumbent, so I don't think there's
But
gonna be a lot
the
of.
truth is, with a 15-minute interview, if that's what we're doing, or a 20-minute interview, if we did that on a night, we don't have a select board meeting, we could pop off interviews and do 10 of them right in a row, you know, in 2 hours.
Assuming that you get
Assuming
3.
other people want.
People that want those
Yeah.
spots, yeah.
I don't know if we're gonna get those types of numbers. I'm on the fence, I guess, now, but I'm interested in the idea of opening up to gauge public's interest more than anything. I think we are getting a lot of interest from people that have been living in the town, and things are changing, things are growing, and it might be an opportunity to give people a voice.
And they're not expressing interest because they don't know the position's gonna be available. Because it says on the website that the teams are full.
Yes.
So I think I do think we need to advertise when the position is becoming due. I think we do. I think that's that part.
It doesn't necessarily mean we have to accept them either.
Have a comment?
Nancy Randolph, 13 Williams Drive. So I know that you can get more people than you have, because this history committee has been, only when it was first set up, which I don't know how many years ago, did it have full complement of 5. I made a little ad, it was quirky and cute. We have 3 people. We only had 1 position. And we're just gonna take volunteers because it's not a committee otherwise. But if you ever want me to, I'll make ads for every different committee, because people respond when they know it's in this, let's face it, our ads now are boring. So,
Do you write those, Mark?
No, I read her ad in the last meeting, that's why.
I think the important thing here is that there are people who probably are not aware that there are vacancies out there, so I think we should do it. That's my opinion.
What about the option of saying, we want to make sure every ending position is advertised and just table the other half of that about the interview process until we see how this goes? And not make a decision and just stay to the status quo if there's no competition.
Let the applicants come in, if they come in and gauge and make a decision after we've seen
The options.
We could,
On a case by case
We
basis.
could get 0, right? I mean, that's a reality as well. Just opens the gates up a little bit more for.
I would just hate to see somebody who's dedicated and, you know, interested, and just because their term's up, they have to leave
Right.
the board or committee when they're doing a good job or whatever, you know, regardless of what committee it is.
That's where we have complete control over the decision, because if there is a candidate that is very valuable and has the institutional knowledge of long-term,
We'll just give it to
yeah,
them.
why would we get rid of
As
that?
long as we would have that,
We have.
options.
Yeah, the board.
Yeah,
nothing wrong with kicking the tires, I guess, as long as we have that ultimate,
we
do.
have
We have
the,
the
making
final
that,
say.
making that
Mhm.
decision on
and
what.
if you have 3 open positions on 1 committee and only 1 applicant, well, 2 of those people stay or 3 people stay, I mean, you still interview them. I mean, but I think step 1, I think it's important to gauge the interest and see where we are from there.
Thank you for bringing this up. I think it's good. So,
Ultimately, as long as we're doing what's in the best interest of
of
the
the town.
community, yeah.
Mhm.
Just-
We probably should start a little earlier then, just in case we have no interest at all. So
Yeah,
that
can we do that? Say a position is gonna become open on such and such a date and list them?
So if, as long as we, which we can, as long as we put it together by, what, April 20th is the deadline? So we'll put it in our May crier ad. We'll say potential openings in the following committees, apply by
Well,
May 20th if you're interested or
they're
something.
not potential openings, they're actual openings, right?
There could be potential because we made the site not to.
Okay, I see.
Not let it open. So if apply by May 20th, and
Yeah, that would
then,
work.
because the terms end June 30th, so it would give about 4 weeks or 5 weeks or so if interviews need to be scheduled to figure those out and stuff.
Mhm.
And the crier gets the people's mailbox by May 1st at the latest, so they'd have about 3 weeks to look at it.
How will we make that into a motion?
Yeah, I just,
I just-
I
gotta write it
got
down.
Ryan come up with the
I was,
motion.
well, I was thinking, but I didn't write anything down, so I gotta write down. Say what you just said again, Mark.
I think your motion could be as simple as directing the town manager to advertise there may be potential committee openings and ask people to submit applications by May 20th if they're interested.
Well, I would propose that we direct the town manager to advertise the potential openings in committee positions and have the applications received by May 20th.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? It's a great motion.
Hopefully May 20th is a weekday, anyway.
Was it, did I should have said with the date
You want
you're
us to
choosing.
revise that?
No, that's fine.
All right. 2637, consideration in the appropriate action on the appointment of Roger Seroy to the Topsham Development Inc. Board.
We interviewed Roger, tonight. He was the former president and CEO of the Federal Credit Union. He served on the board of the Mid-Coast Hunger, and he has been to several TDI meetings to prepare himself to see if this is something he wanted to do. He listened to them talk about strategic planning, and he was willing to learn. I think that he was a good candidate, and I would like to make a motion that Roger Seroy is appointed to the TDI board.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Motion carries. All right, 2638. Consideration any appropriate action to adopt the proposed changes in the family medical leave section of the Town of Topsham personnel policy.
You may remember from our union negotiations last year with the unions, the police and the IMA, the union for the rest of the towns too, that we negotiated that the premium split that the state contemplates in the law for the paid family medical leave, that's 0.5% to employer, 0.5% to the employee, that we would do that. The unions agreed to that as part of the total package that was agreed to. But in order to have this also apply to non-union employees, we need to do this in the personnel policy. So this change would align the non-union employees with the union employees. The other thing that we're changing is most of our town employees were getting short-term disability paid for 85% town, 15% employee. We negotiated with the unions that we would phase that out. While they're not exactly the same, the paid family medical leave is only 12 weeks, but there's a much broader list of reasons you could use it for. The short-term disability, it's a narrower list of reasons, but it's a longer period of time. But it didn't seem to be making sense to have the town pay for two roughly similar insurances. So in the union contracts, we agreed that starting July 1st, the town would drop from 85% to 42.5%. And then July 1st of 27, the town would no longer be subsidizing the premiums on short-term disability. We would like to do the similar thing with the non-union employees that we've done with the union. And so that's the second change in here, is to phase out the town paying for disability insurance. I was told by the health trust a year or so ago that they weren't sure that Maine Municipal Health Trust was even going to offer disability insurance much once the paid family medical leave went into effect, because they suspected the market might be drying up because most people would be using the paid family medical leave. So it could get to the point we might even have trouble coming up with insurance to offer. We do have in the union contracts, as long as there is insurance to offer, we would still offer it through a payroll deduction. It's just the employees would eventually have to pay the premium 100% on their own.
So is the paid leave for the first part of this, and then the unpaid leave is so many weeks later? How does that work?
until May 1st, people could get both under federal and state law, unpaid family medical leave. You could take up to 12 weeks. But now, as of May 1st, it's now going to be paid, but it's still 12 weeks.
Okay, it's still 12. Thank you.
Does she have that one?
So the proposed motion is actually would be relatively simple. Move to adopt the proposed changes in the family medical leave and disability leave sections of the Town of Topsham personnel policy.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Thank you. 2639, consideration of any appropriate action to include a warrant article which would allow the select board to finalize negotiations and execute the proposed agreement with the Topsham Fair regarding the acquisition of a right-of-way to the town land, which is the proposed community center site.
So you may remember from some discussions we had last fall that we were working to try to get a way to get to the 20-acre piece that's the proposed community center site. We've had discussions with the fair in the meantime, and we have the framework of an agreement we believe that everyone can live with. And the framework is that if, and this doesn't take effect until there's some type of a vote taken to fund a community center, the construction of or something. So there's no financial obligations for this right now. But if the town were to take a vote to build a community center, this agreement would commit the Sagahawk Agricultural and Horticultural Society, Inc., which is better known as the Topsham Fair, to provide a right-of-way to get there. The right-of-way would be 50 feet in width. It's contemplated that would contain basically a paved road for part of it, not for the full 50 feet, and then a probably 6-foot path beside it that would be multimodal. You could use bikes, walking. It would be able to connect to the trail that currently goes from the end of here and then would go to the community center property. In return for, and we would be able to put water, sewer, electricity in that. In return for the fair granting that, what we would do for the fair is that we would allow them to access the water, sewer, and 3-phase power that's within that right of way. The location would be subject basically 50 feet from the northern border of their property, or as reasonably close as possible.
That's near the Red Cross end.
Yes.
Right. In the area where the football field is, it's basically between the football field and there's some wetlands there that the state owns that were mitigation for when 196 was built. Once you get past the football field, you get into what was called the Frost property, and the right of way is going to kind of go out more towards the highway. So the concern that some members of the fair had was that we don't want to bisect their grounds with the right of way. And it's probably not great for our people going to the community center either if we had a lot of crossing traffic. So the right of way is going to kind of hug the border and then come out at what was called the Hickey property that is now the town property. Another item in this is the town would build a gate at the location of the fair. The fair would like, and I think it's reasonable, to have the traffic that's coming to the community center come through the community way intersection as opposed to cutting through the fairgrounds from Elm Street. So the gate would probably be relatively close to where the actual driveway is, so that the community center traffic goes there as opposed to through the whole fair. And then the last item of this is that we provide EMS coverage to the fair for their harness racing. And then from 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. Wednesday through Saturday, this is a lot of people there, and sometimes there's medical issues and things. That coverage cost about $10,000 last year. We would, in return for getting the right of way, we would provide that coverage at no charge for basically as long as we have the right of way. As costs go up, that coverage will end up costing more, just as our paramedics cost more and things over time. So that's the outline of the agreement. We need town meeting to authorize that. It's more than you guys could do. So what we were asking for is to include this on the warrant so that the town meeting can authorize you to do a final agreement. Fair, at their December meeting, authorized their board of directors to enter an agreement. Right now, the agreement is in the hands of the fair's attorney. They're looking at it. Our attorney drafted it initially. But these are the basic outlines.
I think that we need access to our land and that's what this is gonna give us to town property, correct? That's
This would give us access to our town property if we build it as a community center.
only under those
Only,
circumstances?
Right.
So I would put in the cart before the horse since the community center hasn't even actually come up to our board yet as far as the actual approval.
Back in October, you guys voted and you gave a charge to the community center committee to work on 3 things.
Oh, this was one of them?
Yeah, this was one of them, was to get access to the right of way. The reason why is one of the other ones that was potentially authorized is to do the design, further design of the community center. We're at the point where the design needs to be site specific. And the design could be hundreds of thousands of dollars. We haven't released an RFP. And then ultimately you guys would decide if you're gonna release the RFP or when. But you don't wanna spend that kind of money and not have a specific
And
location.
that's why you're calling it community center project, because it's just a project at this point, is that why it's referred to as that?
I don't know if I get that specific.
The fair is,
Well, it's in there.
Yeah, the concern of the fair is that, like, one of the other things this could potentially be used for, especially if we put the community center there, is if the lower road rail trail goes through, this is wonderful place to access that trail from, would be a parking lot there. The fair doesn't know if they haven't said that they would say no, and they've been a good partner all this, and I don't wanna make them sound like they have us over a barrel or something. Or they're, actually, they kinda do have us over a barrel, but I don't mean to say like they're acting like they do. They have not wanted to have, say, an empty parking lot there, because they're worried about it could lead to more vandalism at the fairgrounds if people are there unsupervised and stuff. So when I asked them, I said, if we decided not to build a community center there, and by them, I meant the board of directors when we were at a meeting about 6 months ago. I said, would you consider giving us the right of way so that we could use it as a parking lot for this trail, if this trail comes to pass? And they said, basically, let's cross that bridge when we come to it. They said, we're not saying no, we're saying right now, the only thing we're comfortable entering an agreement with would be the community center. But they also wanted to make it contingent on the community center actually happening. So this agreement, right now, like this coming Topsham Fair, they're gonna pay for the EMS coverage just as they did last year. And we have no right of way as of this coming Topsham Fair. But if the town decides to proceed with the community center, then we will automatically be able to get the right of way. So if we spend money on design costs, we know it's not wasted because we'd be able to get to the site.
That's a good point.
So,
And there's still another vote yet to come, whether or not the town wants a community center before we get to that point.
before this agreement would be triggered.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
This is all more concept than.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean,
This going on the warrant is not, these negotiations are gonna go into effect right now.
If the town meeting, if you put this, if you decide tonight you don't wanna go to the town meeting warrant, it doesn't, and nothing happens. If you decide tonight it's okay to put it on the warrant, which it is in the draft, but we'll take it out if you don't want it there. Then town meeting needs to authorize you to enter in an agreement along these terms with the fairgrounds. But it's this state contingent agreement. So town meeting is not gonna have an article that authorizes the building of a community center. It's not gonna have an authorized that obligates the town to you're getting a right of way immediately. It's just an article that says, or an agreement with the fair, if they sign their side, that says that if a vote was taken in the future to expend the money to build a community center, then the town basically knows it has a right of way locked in.
Okay,
So it's just necessary to continue to explore this.
I am.
Exactly, or to do any more design work.
Right,
Yeah.
right. No, in no way, shape or form are we saying we're building.
No,
That's, yeah, that's what.
I make a motion to include a warrant article which would allow the select board to finalize negotiations and execute the proposed agreement with the Topsham Fair regarding the acquisition of a right of way to the town land, which is the proposed community center site.
We have a motion. Second. Moved and seconded, all in favor? Motion carries. Item 2640, consideration and any appropriate action to hold a public hearing on the proposed May 13th, 2026 special town meeting warrant, April warrant on April 16th, 2026 at 6:30 PM.
So you have the draft warrant that we've prepared, a couple points about it. One thing we've done differently from last year is, you may recall last year we had on it the proportion of certain articles that may be paid for through TIFs. We did not include that this year, largely because we don't figure that out until August, really. One of, like, for instance, one of the things that could affect that number significantly is one of the roads on the cusp of whether we did it this year or not is Village Drive. If we do Village Drive, which it looks like we probably will now based on the paving budget that was talked about at your last budget meeting, that is in a TIF and we can allocate TIF money towards that. Last year's work on Elm Street was in a TIF and we were able to do a lot of that. One of the other areas that's proposed to be paved is the Topsham Crossing neighborhood. That one's not in a TIF. So things like that, we go through and try to, as much as possible, allocate our budget to TIFs. But it really makes sense to do that in August when we have a lot better idea of exactly what we're going to be doing for some of the projects and things. So we've kept in it, but I think it makes a simpler warrant because town meeting doesn't vote on where the money comes from. It just votes on whether to spend the money in most cases. I'll give a few exceptions to that in a second. So the articles are the same ones that you talked about at your last meeting with the budget committee. As I mentioned at that meeting, only because we have a real short turnaround to the printer. Right now, they have ought to pass, but you'll actually take your formal votes at the next meeting after the public hearing. And if you vote not ought to pass, we can certainly change that. So the first 7 articles are the financial ones. Article 8 is, as they were working on the new apartments at Park Drive out beside Goodwill, they discovered that the sign that the town gave permission to have where it is through an easement years ago was in the wrong place. So the sign is not actually located in the easement where it was supposed to be. So the ways to fix that would be to move the sign or to give an easement to where it currently exists. So Article 8 is something you covered initially back in October, if you remember. Planner Franklin was here. So this is now bringing that on the warrant. And this would give the authority to move the easement to where the sign is actually located. Article 9 is the one we just spoke of that gives the authority to the select board to finalize an agreement with the fairgrounds over the right of way on the terms we just did. You'll also notice on the non-financial articles that we did an explanation. This was requested a couple of years ago. Someone said it would be helpful to have kind of an explanation of what this means. So we've done that on those articles. And I should jump back one thing on the capital articles. What we've done, that this will be our 3rd year doing this, is that rather than try to separate our potential projects and put money with each one, we've just done a big pot of money. In this case, this year it's 400,000 and not the 8 it was last year. But the 400,000 in note 2 says the money could be spent on engineering and or construction at the discretion of the select board for the following projects. It includes Tedford Road improvements and design, Pleasant Point Road improvements and design, and solid waste facility improvements and design. We don't have the final engine work back because they're still working on the Tedford Road, but that final design we're expecting is going to be probably 2 million in that ballpark. Hopefully not more than that. We've got some money from past years we can carry forward. We'll hopefully have some money from this, but it's basically going to need money next year too. So lesser cost projects we expect is that the RFP for the transfer station that we currently have out, and once we get that back, we may find that, say, the compactors can be done for a reasonable cost at the transfer station, which is getting to the point they need to be done. So that might be how you decide to use this money. So like last year where we had select board discretion and how the 800,000 could be spent, it's proposed that the select board have discretion how the 400,000 can be spent. So that's that note 2 that's there.
One question.
Yeah.
On the finance committee recommendation under the police and fire, that same section you were reading a minute ago, except for the replacement of the police canine that resulted in a 3-3 vote of the members present, wasn't that 4-3? Didn't one of them switch over?
That was a tie.
I thought
Somebody wasn't
switched
here.
over.
I think somebody wasn't here.
Somebody wasn't here.
But ultimately, you guys are going to redo those votes next week.
Okay,
So we debated a little bit in-house how to handle this one, whether we broke out the 15,000 as a separate item. We decided not to because of the fact that the select board said
Said we want it.
they wanted it. So instead, we decided to just present it. And they're not closed articles, so the articles could be amended.
Okay.
So what we did is basically just pointed out the two recommendations, and then we'll adjust it based on vote next week, so.
That'll work.
So then jumping back to, now we're in Article 10. So Article 10, some people may ask why this is on here, because at the secret ballot town meeting last November, the tax increment financing district was approved for the affordable housing project on 4 Union Street. What happened is the Maine State Housing Authority had a draft of the proposed TIF agreement, and then got back to our attorney, much to his surprise, as well as the surprise of the developer's attorney. And they're taking an interpretation of the law that they hadn't in the past. And they basically don't want anything in the affordable housing district other than the affordable housing structure. This lot, that the affordable housing apartment building is supposed to, or I should say mixed, is only a third of the units are affordable, but the mixed apartment building is being built on a lot that also currently has a commercial office building on it. They want that broken off. So this article would shrink, in essence, the TIF district to be just the new building and then the area that that occupies and the parking right around it. So it will not encompass the current commercial building that's on there. We did something similar for the Tedford Road TIF, you may remember a few years back. Topsham Housing Authority came and asked the district to be shrunken for a different reason. That one was they wanted to hold a piece of land out so they could do a different project on it. But the reason for this is because the feedback that our attorneys were getting to the draft that Maine State Housing Authority was given is that they wouldn't approve it without, unless it was shrunk. So this would shrink the affordable housing district. So that's what this article would do. This is the longest article, but it's because of all the required language, and the attorneys drafted all that language, and that's in there. Article 11 is again on the advice. The actual wording is how the attorney suggested to be worded, but it's basically, according to the explanation that we have here, when this is more than the explanation, but when the tow business that went into Union Park Drive, where the accountant's office used to be, they had to go through a lot of steps, no different than, say, Topsham Toyota had to do when they built their wash station, with plans and engineer stuff. And they said that could be kind of burdensome for a small business owner and a small project. So the planning board and staff both heard those comments, took them to heart, and they drafted some changes to our language so that for small things, the planning board or the staff could say approve it with a sketch, as opposed to having to go to the planning board and all the formal steps. So that's what this accomplishes.
Okay.
And then Article 12 is, if you remember during your discussions during the budget season, we were trying to find a way to pay for the proposed natural areas plan without doing it through taxes to try to minimize the tax impact. And there is approximately 57,000 of money in an open space payment in lieu fund. That money needs town meeting authorization to be spent. So this article would allow you folks to spend that money at your discretion. You don't have to spend all of it, and my understanding is they think they know what grant they're gonna apply for, but you could use some of this for matching funds or, so that's what that article is.
And just to clarify, this money's already there. This is
Right.
adding.
Right, correct.
It's already there, which is.
Yep, it's money that's just sitting in our vast coffers. Then Article 13 on are what we call the housekeeping articles that give you your kind of general powers to do things on behalf of the town over the course of the year. And usually those are the ones where Ed Karen steps up and moves to pass as a group. There's one more article we would like to add that is the item that you've added to your agenda, so we'll discuss that one in a minute. So we're looking for you tonight to, if you have any changes you want to this, bring them up and let us know. Once you're satisfied with it, then we need to have a motion to have a public hearing on this on April 16th.
Any comments or changes?
No change.
Just a procedural question. I know you said it earlier, but I have forgotten. All of these audit passes, when do we actually vote on them?
After the public hearing, so you'll take all the public comment on the 16th. We'll have the finance committee here that night as well, and then Chair Tufts and the finance, Chair Eaton of the finance committee will lead you all in your votes. We'll take notes, and then we'll make whatever changes before we get to the printer the next day.
So we'll have discussion on each of those articles potentially.
Yep.
Okay, so for 2639, we need a motion.
I make a motion to hold a public hearing on the proposed May 13th, 2026 special town meeting warrant on April 16th, 2026 at 6:30 PM.
Second,
All in favor? Motion carries. All right, now we have the adjustment. And basically, consideration and inappropriate action to add the following article, the proposed May 13th, 2026 town meeting warrant.
You may have noticed on Park Drive that the apartment project is being built in. They were required to do a section of sidewalk across the street from their project as part of that project. Public Works Director Hunter has identified that he believes a project that our Public Works crew could work on this summer would be to connect that piece of sidewalk to the Topsham Fair Mall Road sidewalk closest to Market Basket, so that people could say leave the apartment complex or leave Market Basket, walk down to Goodwill, be on a sidewalk. Some of that work, it can be done in-house, but some of that work would need to have contractors assist with. And there is a fund right now that has 74,000 in it. It's collected as Topsham Fair Mall traffic impact fees. Could be a source for the work that would be needed. So I'll let Public Works Director Hunter describe some of the things that we might pay for out of that fund.
Okay.
Sure, hello, Matt Hunter, Public Works. Yes, I just want to clarify, this is on the end of Park Drive, the westerly side. When you say Park Drive and Topsham Fair Mall Road, some people think of the 99 restaurant end. This is on the other end at the Goodwill retail store. That construction project that's there now involving the construction of the multi-unit housing units has already built a sidewalk on the opposite side of the road heading towards Topsham Fair Mall Road to the west. That's there now and is completed. That's approximately 300 feet and then it just ends. So Town Manager Waltz had come to me a while back and said, is there something that Public Works could assist with in continuing that to Topsham Fair Mall Road, which already has a sidewalk? So in a sense, in essence, there's a dead spot in the sidewalk continuity. The answer was yes, it was doable by our department. However, there was going to be some additional costs, as he just mentioned. These would be things we would have to pay for outside of our normal operating budget. To look at the terrain, which many people don't notice because they drive on by, there's 2 major hills and 1 major ravine, which poses some additional challenges, but it was ultimately doable. We were going to be purchasing some boulders and having them placed by a contractor to kind of give us a retaining wall to cross the major gully, and then at the same time be cutting down the hills we had to cross. That was one major expense. Another was, of course, the gravel base for the entire length of the 386 feet of sidewalk that we're going to be adding to connect the new sidewalk to the existing sidewalk on Topsham Fair Mall Road. Of course, we would have to have it paved in a couple layers of pavement. One would be below the new slip form concrete curbing that we would be installing on Park Drive to have our sidewalk meet up against. That would be subcontracted out. And then, of course, the finished layer of asphalt for the 5 foot wide ADA compliant sidewalk itself. And finally would be the, what I would call the landscaping portion, which would be, once the sidewalk is there, riprap rock to prevent erosion or grass installation along the disturbed areas of the whole new sidewalk. I crunched the numbers on all these things we would have to purchase. It was an additional cost to the department outside of our normal operating budget of $40,000. That was our minimum number we were looking at, but that was enough to complete the job. Essentially. Town Manager Walt said he would look into some available funds, which he did. He noticed some set aside in the tune of $74,000. So I would say the cost outside of our normal budget would be $40,000, not to exceed $74,000. Any questions on any of that?
Drainage not gonna be a problem. The slope is in, drain away.
Yep, it is. It's a well draining area because it's up on a considerable ridge there. And it's all sandy material, so.
So this money, if you develop in the Topsham Fair Mall area, they have to pay towards this. And the money's supposed to go to sidewalks and road improvements. So rather than have the money sit there, but this is a chance to put it to work. Similar to the last article, even though Public Works Director Hunter expects the cost is gonna be less than 74. Similar to the last one, I just used the balance in the current account so that it gave you folks the discretion. So if it ends up costing a little more than expected or less than expected, whatever it be, you can able to adjust it.
And just to clarify, you said that's from the Topsham Fair Mall impact fees?
This is from the Topsham Fair Mall Area Traffic Impact Fee Fund. And I even have a post motion if you would like one.
Amazing how that works.
Yeah.
It's not to exceed 74, is that what you said?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
To add one more thing, if I could. This provides access to the Topsham Fair Mall Road sidewalk market basket area from not only the Goodwill retail store, but the new multi-unit buildings and the Forest Glen neighborhood, which is new.
So is this going all the way through to the main road, or is it stopping at, what is that, Merriman Lane, whatever that?
Well, the entirety of this project is on Park Drive. But it
won't go all the way
No.
through, like, to.
No, the new section from the multi-unit building to where this project starts is already complete.
I think the vision is eventually, to have the entirety of Park Drive have a sidewalk. But this year we're just trying to do this one section.
Okay.
Smart call.
It's a great idea.
To propose the motion to add the following article to the proposed May 13th, 2026 special town meeting warrant. Article to see if and the number will,
24.
Actually, we'll probably,
he's gonna put it
we'll
somewhere.
put it before the housekeeping one.
Okay.
So the number to be added, to see if the town will vote to authorize up to $74,000 to be spent out of the Topsham Fair Mall Area Traffic Impact Fee Fund for the purpose of constructing a sidewalk at the western end of Park Drive at the discretion of the select board.
A motion? Second.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Okay, motion carries.
Do we have executive session?
No,
Didn't we postpone one from last week to this week? Last
Oh.
month to this stuff?
we just didn't have it that night.
So, who wants to close things up here?
Yeah,
Oh, here we go.
there it is.
All right, it's been moved second. All in favor? Thank you. Thank you for attending of this whole meeting, so.
Yeah.